This is The Wing. Part pseudo-sorority, part co-working space, part Instagram fever dream. The Wing is a woman-oriented co-working space founded just a few short years ago in 2016. My first introduction to The Wing was an article in The Cut recounting their opening night in Manhattan, featuring a celebrity-filled sleepover catered by trendy New York eateries and furnished with plush pink divans. And honestly, I was pretty fascinated by the whole thing. So when I heard that The Wing would be opening a new space in Boston, I decided to check it out. I applied for membership a few months ago in March, and just a couple weeks ago, I heard back and my membership was approved. So today I'm activating my account in preparation for visiting the Boston space for the first time this weekend. Opening night was exciting, fun, and filled with interesting women. And at opening night, I received my orientation packet, which is actually how I learned about the many perks and discounts that members get from businesses that The Wing has partnered with. There's a massive list of brands on the member portal, offering everything from free items to special discounts on products, shops, and restaurants. It's fairly self-explanatory, but so far I've enjoyed free fries at Shake Shack, a discount on a getaway cabin, a free bra from Third Love, and a discount at Outdoor Voices, Madewell, and jcrew.com. Each of the spaces also include a cafe, cleverly named The Perch in continuing with their bird theme. Because outside food and drink isn't permitted in the spaces, members have to either patronize the cafe or step out when they want a meal. But as part of the orientation packet, I received a $10 voucher for The Perch, so it was the perfect opportunity to try it out. Every location has the same basic main menu, but each individual space also has a signature menu, featuring dishes from local female chefs. And one of these specialties in Boston quickly became my favorite. So as it turns out, I think I am addicted to this sandwich. It takes everything in me not to get it every time I come here. Egg sandwiches aside, I think my other favorite thing to order is actually the pastries, because they rotate a variety of them in stock, so there's always something new to try. They also have a custom drink menu, two of which are actually on the house because of the 2 drink tickets included in my orientation packet. And since the Boston location can't sell alcoholic drinks, I opted to enjoy those drinks in New York, where I could use those tickets to their full potential. Cheers! Another feature of The Wing's membership is access to a lending library. Each space has a colorful library featuring books almost exclusively by female or gender non-conforming authors. This was probably one of my favorite unexpected perks. It gave me a chance to read some books that I'd been meaning to for quite a long time, and had me discovering a few new favorites. I feel like a real actual person, like reading for fun and shit. Another thing that sets The Wing apart from other co-working spaces is the fact that they have their own merchandise. And I'll be honest, I quite like a lot of it. I mean, I'm a millennial, and I guess I'll probably find any excuse I can to buy another enamel pin. So I do like the shirt a lot. Among some of the other things I've bought from The Wing are a couple of different accessories, all of which I love. But there was one item in particular that I spotted while I was visiting the West Hollywood location, which I'll show you more of later, and I so regretted not buying it while I was there. It didn't seem to be listed in their online store, so I messaged The Wing on Facebook to see if I could buy it from across the country. They gave me the phone number for the front desk of the LA location, and when I called, a woman named Alexis answered, who actually remembered who I was from visiting there the week before with my brother. She said it was no problem and that she could set aside my purchase for my brother to come pick up. And I guess in the spirit of the space, the best thing about the whole experience was that I didn't really feel apologetic or like I was being annoying for asking for this special request. And a couple weeks later, I had a lighter. But I do actually have some criticisms when it comes to their merchandise. More specifically, my issue is around these items. These badges and the concepts behind them are suspiciously close to those created by artist Shelby Lorman, author of the book Awards for Good Boys, which is basically her whole brand. She creates tongue-in-cheek awards for those who do the bare minimum in respecting women, driving home the point that others shouldn't be rewarded for showing basic human decency. It should be expected. Even if the designs are different and they did come up with the idea independently, I still think that the Wing's creations don't live up to the truthful message behind Lorman's artwork. Lorman even tweeted the Wing offering a compromise of placing her book in their lending libraries. They haven't seemed to notice, but I may have slipped a copy on the shelves for people to discover. And, well, I guess it's time to address the obvious Instagram appeal. So, here's some interior design for you. Each location has some beautifully designed spaces, essentially ensuring every angle of the place is photo-worthy. Created by an all-female design team, one of the designers, Hilary Koifman, described the space as kind of like Mad Men, without the men. One of the more stunning spaces is actually the beauty room, featuring lockers, gorgeous showers and vanities, and stocked with essentials, plus a few luxuries. All the spaces are incredibly beautiful, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not what it's supposed to be about. So if it's not all about avocado toast and interior design, then what is the idea behind the space? Primarily, it functions as a co-working space, like WeWork or Spaces. So that means the basics: free coffee, Wi-Fi, a locker room, and bookable meeting spaces. Gelman saw it as a pit stop between meetings in different parts of Manhattan, where she could change clothes, charge a phone, or get work done. But beyond the co-working aspect, the Wing also offers the experience of a social club of sorts. And this was personally the most exciting thing about it to me. The Wing's co-founder, Audrey Gelman, mentions in her interview with The Cut that despite her absence of a sorority experience, she's benefited from her relationships with large groups of women. Although the sorority moniker doesn't quite fit the bill of the Wing, the idea certainly comes close, especially with their emphasis on networking and connecting with other members. Speaking of which, I think one of the most valuable aspects of their social benefits are the events hosted in their various spaces. Among the multitude of panels, workshops, and meetings, they host events like Unpacking White Feminism, a lecture with Rachel Cargill, a wine and cheese tasting hosted by a local women-owned business, and fitness classes led by local studios and instructors. So right now I'm heading to a yoga class at the Wing that I signed up for. I got off the wait list a couple days ago, which is great, but I'm also now a little bit late, so let's hope I make it. So the class just ended. It was a lot of fun. It was led by this really lovely woman from More to Love Yoga, and it was really great actually. And this is also a really good excuse for me to take a shower here because they're really fancy. So what's the reason behind a co-working space having so many social events? Co-founders Audrey Gelman and Lauren Casson began the Wing in the tradition of the women's clubs of yesteryear, citing the long history of women-only spaces being stifled, such as when President Grover Cleveland denounced the existence of women's clubs as jeopardizing the integrity of our homes. The Wing's founders pointedly opened their first location on Ladies' Mile, a stretch of Manhattan that was once host to a large number of premier women's social clubs. But the Wing has run into some controversy, as its membership selection process was criticized by some, including the NYCLU, for technically not being in compliance with anti-discrimination laws. Specifically, the issue was regarding the transphobic language of living as a woman being taken into account when deciding to approve an applicant. Ultimately, the Wing revised their application process to comply, eventually changing their wording to instead gauge applicants' dedication to their mission of empowering women rather than simply living as one. Despite the controversy, the Wing has expanded significantly in a short amount of time, with plans to expand to the UK and Canada. So, while visiting New York City this past summer, I headed to the Flatiron District to explore their flagship location, and to see what one of the older and more established locations had to offer. But after their success in New York, they expanded west, starting with a location in San Francisco, followed by a space in LA. This is the Wing West Hollywood, which opened in spring 2019. After spending a few days down at VidCon this summer, I'm staying in LA with my brother for a couple of days, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to check out their West Coast location. This fall, I traveled to San Francisco for a work trip, so while I was there, I decided to check that location out too. My trip to the Wing in San Francisco was actually kind of the ideal use case for an all-access membership. It was a convenient distance between my hotel and the multiple shooting locations I was going to that day. And that night, since I was in a new city by myself, I decided to go to the Wing's Halloween party. But while I'm in one of the most expensive cities in the United States, it seemed only fitting to talk about the cost. Comparatively, it is technically less costly than other co-working spaces. WeWork's $45 monthly starting price may seem low, but that doesn't even get you through the doors. To actually access the space, you're required to book in advance and pay an additional fee, $50 a day just to use a designated desk. WeWork's pricing schemes are insane, and even without a designated desk, I'd have to pay over $400 a month to join the closest WeWork in my area. But despite the Wing's better pricing, $180 a month is still nothing to scoff at, and in order to make the spaces more accessible, Gelman says she's exploring options like sliding scale pricing for students or teachers, or offering trades to artists in exchange for their work to hang on the walls of the space. They also have a scholarship program, which gave out over 200 yearly memberships in 2018. That very same article from The Cut I first read in 2016 asks readers, why can't a feminist be a capitalist and why can't a capitalist be a feminist? And honestly, that in itself could be a whole other video. In fact, I highly recommend watching Tiffany Ferguson's video on the subject of corporate feminism. But to massively oversimplify things, I think that when a business is advocating for social good, there is a tendency to place extra scrutiny on their practices, and rightfully so. But short of radically declaring yourself a third place, much like Starbucks did in 2018, anything that requires a subscription payment is going to immediately shut out some number of people with less income. Hell, it was even pricey for me, and I'm in a position of extreme financial privilege. But at the end of the day, it is a business, and one that has a very careful line to tread in being socially conscious. I mean, one minute you think you're woke, and the next, Kendall Jenner is tossing out Pepsis at a protest in your ad campaign. With that said, even though my personal experience at the Wing has been great, other members aren't always awarded that same luxury. The spaces neglect the intersectionality inherently necessary for the third wave feminism that the Wing's brand advertises. For example, multiple locations have spaces that are only accessible by stairwell. If someone couldn't use stairs, they wouldn't be able to access the entire space effectively. Obviously, I can only really focus on the experience at the Wing as a member, as a customer. And while I can't speak directly from experience, I have noticed more criticisms and controversies surrounding the treatment of workers beginning to emerge. Articles recounting stories of racism, low wages, and the failed promise of a feminist workplace began popping up left and right at the start of this year. One particular Instagram account, @FlewTheCoop, is gathering stories of former space staff who were mistreated and underpaid during their employment at the Wing. With a non-disclosure agreement in place, this account gives former employees a platform to speak about their experiences with anonymity. These employees were sold on the same feminist utopia as the one you saw me enjoying earlier. But instead of the opportunities they were promised, they were just taken advantage of. Despite their mission to uplift other women, their hourly staff was furloughed during the COVID-19 pandemic. So member fees were waived because the spaces were all closed, but some members, like myself and others, contributed to a GoFundMe campaign and even donated to individual staff members. Although I think it's great that the Wing clearly fostered an environment where people were inclined to support each other like that, from a company that speaks so much on supporting women, I would have liked to see more action, especially when it came to supporting their own employees. And the Wing has been feeling the pressure from all sides, as their corporate employees recently staged a digital walkout, which led to the resignation of CEO Audrey Gelman. But this is just a minor first step in attempting to fix the now nationwide institution. There's a lot of work to do, and it may involve reinventing the company from the ground up. Currently, all Wing locations are still closed due to the pandemic, but the Wing has also paused all of their digital and online programming, and the app is completely shut down, ironically robbing women of the last gathering space they had left as they began to post about the company's issues. The Wing sent out an email a few weeks ago acknowledging some of the demands from former staff, including finally delivering a $500 COVID stipend to employees, and the promise of prepaid therapy sessions. But according to former employees, the process is slow, messy, and generally frustrating. This same email from the Wing never actually mentions @FlewTheCoop, despite seemingly taking these actions directly from their list of demands. And according to the Instagram account, nobody at the Wing has ever reached out to them directly as of yet. Not only that, but the NDAs still have not been lifted. Despite the app being shut down, members have created external Slack groups to discuss, organize, and support the workers. And some have canceled their memberships after learning of the mistreatment. So, can the Wing be saved? That I don't know. But one thing is clear. The Wing prioritized the growth of their business and their image over the actual ideals that the company was founded on. Feminism can be ugly and dirty, and it doesn't always look good on Instagram. It isn't always comfortable or wearing a trendy shade of millennial pink. It has to work for all, not just for a privileged few. Even though on a surface level, the Wing is a great place to get work done, it seems like the company itself isn't always willing to do the real work when it comes to upholding their mission. So, will I renew my membership? The Wing was fun while it lasted, but sadly, I don't think I will. I was enchanted by it nearly every time I went there, but I can't help but feel disillusioned when I think about the company as a whole. I don't think I can, in good conscience, continue to support it when they have a history of blatantly betraying their own values. And honestly, they probably don't want me back after this video anyways.